Relationships are a diverse array of agreements. It's not like this kind of relationship is good and this kind of relationship is bad. It's understanding everything that's out there and available so that whatever relationship you're in is an actual choice. Because what we find ourselves in right now is what I call lazy monogamy. We're told there's one type of relationship. This is it. This is what it looks like. This is what it should look like. And if it doesn't look like that and it's not working for you, you're the problem.
Welcome to the Relationship Diversity Podcast, where we celebrate, question, and explore all aspects of relationship structure diversity, from soloamory to monogamy to polyamory and everything in between, because every relationship is as unique as you are. We'll bust through societal programming to break open and dissect everything we thought we knew about relationships, to ask the challenging but transformational questions: who am I, and what do I really want in my relationships? I'm your guide, Carrie Jaroslaw, best-selling author, speaker, intuitive, and coach. Join me as we reimagine all that our most intimate relationships can become. Today's episode is part of our conversation series. I'm just one voice in this relationship diversity movement, and it's important to bring more unique perspectives into the conversation. In this episode, I have an insightful conversation with my wonderful guest, Ally Iseman, a relationship coach and writer. We talk about how to open up without blowing up your relationship, including how to start doing your own inner exploration, finding important awarenesses to support relationship growth and expansion. But first, a little about her. Ally Iseman is a writer, consultant, ICF certified relationship coach, NCSF registered kink-aware professional, and the founder of the inclusive relationship education platform, passporttopleasure.com. She's been a speaker, sex-positive event producer, and non-monogamy educator and practitioner since 2016. She's a featured subject matter expert for publications like the New York Times, Cosmopolitan, Well and Good, Romper, Pure Wow, and Yahoo, among others, and is a contributing writer and educator for the leading industry publication Sexual Health magazine. As a certified consent and communication specialist, she uses inclusive relationship design to teach busy couples around the world the tools and skills they need to build the relationships they want and deserve. Whether you want to open up your relationship to include other people, or you just want to open up more authentically to each other, Ally will help you open up without blowing up. Let's get into the conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Relationship Diversity Podcast. I'm really excited about my guest. Today, I've got Ally Iseman here, and she is a writer, a certified relationship coach, and a non-monogamy nerd who has such wisdom for anyone in relationship, and especially for people exploring, beginning non-monogamy and any kind of non-monogamous relationship. I've learned so much from the little time that we've talked, and I'm really excited to have her here to share her wisdom with all of you. So first, Ally, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very much looking forward to this conversation.
Yay. So first, I'd love for you to share with people a little about yourself for those who don't know anything about you and how you got into this world of relationship diversity, non-monogamy. You and I have even talked about ambyamory. How did you get here?
How did I get here? That's the first question I ask myself every morning when I wake up. How did I get here? For me, it was very much a personal journey initially. And so what that looked like was being what I called a serial monogamist. So I would be in a relationship for about the same amount of time, generally an average of about 2 years. And then I'd be single for about the same amount of time, generally 3 or 4 months. And then bam, into the next relationship. And that pattern would repeat over and over. And at this time, I was only dating men, so closeted in every way. And for me, I'm a nerd. So when I notice there's a pattern, I'm like, ooh, I wonder what'll happen if we do a pattern interrupt. So let's see what happens. Let's see what's on the other side of me being single for a little bit longer than my usual? And the answer was all of the shit was on the other side. And so that began just my overall self-development journey on working on who I want to be, how do I want to show up. And then I had a few monogamous relationships with different men, but at least at this point, I had started exploring my sexuality a little bit more. And so I opened up conversations about, hey, I might be interested in women. I might be interested in exploring, like, what are you comfortable with? And we landed on, we can have a threesome with another woman. Unfortunately, that did not, or maybe fortunately, that did not happen with those people. But what ended up becoming ultimately my last monogamous relationship, we did actually open it up. And this is back in 2016. So I had none of the tools, language awareness, and there was nowhere near the breadth of information available then that there is now. And so we did everything wrong, just everything. And it blew up in our faces. And so that really showed me a few things. It was one, this is real for me, because the experience that I did have, and we can go into more detail if that's helpful, it was very validating. It was like, no, this is real. I accessed a new part of myself, a new part of my capacity to love and connect and just to be. And I knew it was real. I had to explore it, but I realized, oh, I need to explore this on my own because I don't want any more emotional casualties on my conscience. And the key piece I like to highlight is people ask, yeah, but like, how did you know you wanted to do that? And for me, it was compersion. I didn't have the word at the time, but I had thought what I was experiencing was jealousy when partners would tell me about their other experiences, previous partners, fantasies, etc. I got very excited. It felt very yummy. And I didn't know the word compersion, so I only knew how to reference jealousy in that experience. I'm like, I don't know why jealousy has such a bad rap. This feels great. I'm like, what's the problem here? And have since experienced very unpleasant jealousy and now know the difference. But that was my clue on there's something different. People are having a different experience around this part of relationship. I want to explore what that is. And that's the long and long of it.
Yeah, there was something that you said that really hit me that is, I think, is really important. And that is, you talked about a pattern interrupting these patterns that play over and over and over. And I think that's a really powerful place to be. And I'm wondering if you could go into what that looks like, because it sounds like that was maybe after you saw what was going on, you had the experience enough that you were like, oh, this is repeating itself. But I think a lot of people don't have that awareness that there are these patterns that are repeating over and over. And in that is something that is keeping you from really having a fulfilling relationship experience. I'm wondering if you could just go into a little bit about that pattern interruption and how people could start that inquiry within their own relationships.
Well, there's a few things at play here. That takes self-reflection, and self-reflection, especially at the beginning, but pretty much throughout, but especially at the beginning, it's very uncomfortable because you're having to look at stuff that you've just gotten really used to putting aside, and just like bad posture. You just learn to hold yourself in the wrong position. And before you know it, you've got some issues and you need to go see the chiropractor. So it's uncomfortable. And we have an entire society built around driving us to stay comfortable. Be comfortable, avoid anything that's unpleasant, whatever it is. You should be happy. Happy is the goal, happy all the time. And so, of course, people are not wanting to go in there. So it requires not only the desire, but the capacity to lean into that discomfort and be willing to sit in that, to see it, which is why I find myself coaching is I have not only a natural inclination and desire, but I've also cultivated and honed that skill set for myself, which makes me much more able to do so for others, because sometimes we're constantly mirrors for each other, whether you're a coach or a friend or a partner or whatever. All we ever are mirrors for each other. You're only ever seeing yourself. But if you have two people that aren't aware of that, they kind of get stuck in the reflection. And so that's where having like a coach or somebody kind of on the outside who doesn't have the same investment in that dynamic can be really useful, because they can literally reflect on a totally clean palette and show you things that you can't see the forest for the trees sometimes. So you really need that different perspective.
Definitely. And I find that I'm probably 35 years into my own self work, that once you start to go into it and you have that person to help reflect in the beginning, the patterns start showing themselves to you. And I think it's a little bit easier as you get through it and you get a muscle memory of looking for patterns. But still, there are times when I have things that I still need people to reflect that I'm not aware of what's going on, or with just a little bit of a suggestion, oh, maybe this is something that you've been experiencing over and over, then I can go in and do my own work. But having a coach, someone like Ally, who can reflect that back to you is a really great place to start, and is so important. Like you were saying, starting in self-reflection is really so helpful, because that's the only way we're going to change, is to become aware of things that are playing out in a certain way over and over again. And I love what you said about leaning into the discomfort. That, I think, is as powerful as understanding your patterns and interrupting them. That's what I've spent most of my hiatus doing. And I've spent pretty much every spare moment that I've had and taken things off my plate to practice sitting in discomfort. It's so against what we have been taught.
Yeah.
And
Literally
I think
everything around us.
right. And our survival instincts and everything is to find comfort. You talk about the misconception of discomfort equaling unsafe. And I'm wondering if you could go into that a little bit more.
Absolutely. And you just set me up perfectly, because I would actually push back. We naturally are built to look for safety, not comfort. Our body actually needs discomfort. We build muscle by breaking it down. So we do actually thrive in discomfort, but we have evolved at such a rate socially, culturally, but our bodies haven't at the same rate. So we're having a hard time making the distinction between uncomfortable and unsafe. So physiologically, our body doesn't know the difference between we are locked in a cage with a hungry lion and I have to go talk on stage in front of 100 people.
Wow,
It's the
that's
same
great.
physiological experience. So
Yes.
I'm very pragmatic. I love practical tools. So you even set me up again, the practice of being uncomfortable. It is a practice. It's not a switch. I am always practicing. You're never done. It's like going to the gym. It's not like, oh, I'm fit now, the end. Like you are
Right.
always training. You are always practicing. And eventually, ideally, you find some pleasure in that process. But I love talking about just little ways you can inject this in your day to start, especially, and then to keep the habit alive. So, how do we practice being uncomfortable when it feels like the last thing we want to do in every way? And there's so much data and information coming at us all the time, so much stimuli. So, I like to take an example of, as someone socialized as a woman, I was taught to not, I don't get to say no. I don't get to rock the boat. I don't get to disagree. So all the way down to, like, if they got my coffee order wrong at the coffee shop, you just take it. You
Right.
take it's fine. It's fine. It's just coffee. Well, no, I got up and I walked myself to the coffee shop and I put the effort into getting out the door and going here. And I want the thing that I ordered. And so I practiced saying, actually, no, it's this. And then the next stage is actually actively changing my mind mid
Mm.
order, which is like, oh my God, because I have to just order, get out of the line, make it easy for everybody else. Standing at the till and going, I'm going to have this and this. You know what? Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to do this instead. I know you put the order in, but do you mind? And obviously, as long as there's not like 400 people behind
Yeah.
you and you're not trying to ruin people's day. But in these little ways that you can, again, pattern interrupt yourself from trying to find that homeostasis. How can you do something different? How can you change your morning routine? Is there one thing that you can do a little differently, or switch the order? What are the little different daily little things that you can do in a different way, or in a different order, or say no instead of yes, or let me get back to you instead of trying to get that answer? All these little moments are how we build up our endurance, if you will, for the bigger times of discomfort, like shifting a relationship dynamic, for example.
That's a big one. Yeah. So I hear what you say about the physiological response of discomfort and not feeling safe are very similar. How do you recommend people get into their bodies to understand the difference, to help pull those two things apart, to really ask, is this discomfort or is this that I'm really not safe?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. There is an element of it. Well, and we have to differentiate safety too. Is this a physical safety, emotional safety? Because those are two different things that can, of course, be related. But barring physical safety, which of course use your discretion,
Yeah.
if we're talking about specifically emotional safety versus discomfort, I think there's again that self-reflection component because there is to a degree, if there's trauma in your background, that kind of a thing, that's where working with a trauma informed specialist can help you start differentiating those things because your neurological system will have impairment because of that. It will operate differently. So it is harder to distinguish. But assuming that is not the case, practicing those little day-to-day activities give you that baseline. So all the elements are under your control. When you're starting to figure out what is the difference between uncomfortable and unsafe for me, start with things that are 100% in your control. At home, I'm going to do this routine differently. Ooh, that feels uncomfortable. Okay, now I'm going to integrate someone else who I've let know I'm working on these things, my partner, whomever. We're going to do this a little differently. Ooh, that's what that feels like when somebody else is included. And you just start expanding and adding new variables at your pace to practice differentiating. And then you'll get a better feel for that physical response that your body is having and practicing looking at the thoughts that you then associate with those experiences. So our emotions are physical chemical reactions in our body. We don't control those. Our feelings are thoughts in our head. We do actually choose which ones we want to hold on to. So those are the stories we tell ourselves. Something I like to share is like physiologically, again, excitement and nervousness are the same physiological experience. It's just a different story. So it's a different thought pattern.
I
So
love
once you're
that.
getting a feel and a handle for like, oh, this is what my body feels like when it's uncomfortable, because being unsafe is also uncomfortable, but being uncomfortable isn't necessarily unsafe. Then you start looking at what are the thoughts that I'm associating with these feelings. And then you get a handle on that relationship. You're starting to just basically slow down the process for yourself and make it much more active rather than passive. You are an active participant now in your experience. Is this making sense? Kind of where I'm
Yeah,
going?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So it is a process. It's not like you can be like, if your arm does this, then you're unsafe. Like, I wish
Right.
it was that easy.
If only we were a computer and we could just go, if this, then that.
But these are the tools. This is a lot of the work that I do with clients is we find their baseline, we find those cues, and then we start working around them.
Yeah, because I think the body never lies. So somatically, when that sensation comes up, then I like what you say about slowing down because it sounds like once I feel that sensation, to stop and start the inquiry about what that physiological, like, where do I feel it? Okay, I feel it in my heart and in my gut, and it feels like agitation or heat, and going into all the descriptors of what this sensation feels in my body. There are some times that I've had the experience where that sensation is so overwhelming and I can't get to any kind of logical thoughts about it. It's just I'm overwhelmed with the somatic sensation in my body. Do you have any suggestions if someone were to get into that place where it's just like they can't even access any kind of logic or any kind of mental aspect of whatever it is? Can you recommend ways that we can be with the sensations in the body?
I would say breath is the key component. Find your breath because what you're saying is there's a lot of, again, a lot of information coming at you from your body. There's a lot of different sensations, a lot of things. So just find breath. That's the one thing that connects all of them. Just find the breath within that because that's something that's going to be happening one way or another. You don't have to do anything. Just find it. Just find where your breath is. Doesn't matter if it's fast, shallow, deep, whatever it is. Just find it, notice
Mm.
it, then start to be with it. See if you can get a handle on it. Can you make it last a little longer, the out breath, maybe than the in breath? Can you change the pace? Can you hold your breath? Just start playing with the breath to get yourself, that'll regulate so many other areas in your nervous system just with that one tool. Don't worry about the thoughts right now. You're in the physical experience. That breath is like the spine of all of those different components.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think we all have our fight or flight response. For me, it's usually like flight or freeze. And so I forget about the breath at that time. But I think that's another thing that, again, if it's practice, if it becomes a part of your daily routine and you're getting like that muscle memory of the breath, that when that comes up, a lot of times I feel like meditation and breath work, it's really just training for the moments that you need it. You're training like you would for some kind of sports event.
Exactly.
You do it over and over and over and over and over again, so that when the time comes, you're not having to think about it. It's in your muscle memory. And that's what that reminds me of.
That's always what I share too with clients, because we'll always love to add the layer of beating ourselves up for not being good at the thing that we're trying to. I'm like, well, how often are you practicing? Did you that you're just gonna have this skill? It comes back to relationships too. I'm like, I shouldn't need a relationship coach. I should. When were you taught how to relate? This is a skill set.
It really is. And speaking of that, I know that's something that you also specialize in, is teaching relationship skills. And from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, your specialty is non-monogamy, ethical non-monogamy, but I'm sure relationships are relationships. So the skills that you teach would help people in any relationship. And so I'm wondering if you could go over some of the skills that you found are not taught, but are really important.
Yes. It's funny because we'll have colloquialisms in our society that we talk about, but then we don't even realize when we're doing them, like assumptions, for example. But yes, I just to start really quick on that, that's a core component of how I work, whether I'm coaching, educating, mentoring. It's that relationships are a diverse array of agreements, basically. It's not like this kind of relationship is good and this kind of relationship is bad. It's understanding everything that's out there and available so that whatever relationship you're in is an actual choice. Because what we find ourselves in right now is what I call lazy monogamy. We're told there's one type of relationship. This is it. This is what it looks like. This is what it should look like. And if it doesn't look like that and it's not working for you, you're the problem.
Yeah.
And so we have all these people that are just fall into this relationship because that's what relationship is, but they're not actually choosing it because you can't choose something if you don't actually understand what's available. So learning about consensual non-monogamy, even if you think you're monogamous, is only going to benefit your relationship because then you will be actively choosing that relationship dynamic from a base level of understanding yourself and your needs and how that relationship structure supports those needs. So all that to say, I recommend everyone learn as much as possible about all relationships so they can make that informed choice.
This is why I feel so resonant with you, is because I talk a lot, and I have talked a lot in this podcast about intentionality in relationships. And it takes a lot of courage, I think, to look into all of your beliefs about relationships, pulling apart what you've been told, what you believe, what works for you, what's resonant with you, and designing a relationship, whether it is technically monogamous, still designing it in a way that works for you and the other person, because you're not like anyone else and neither is your partner. So it just doesn't make sense that your relationship would look like anyone else's.
Well, and it's interesting to me, one of the big pushbacks, God, non-monogamy sounds like so much work. And I'm like, so are you putting any work into your relation?
Yeah.
It's work to relate, like to be with another person. We talk a lot about life partners in our culture. Your only life partner, like your actual life partner, is you. That is the
Yes.
only relationship most of us will have our entire life. So if you're not even working on that relationship, start there and then build out, how does this relate to other people? And what does that look like? And why do I need it to look like that? And then learning how to communicate those things. So really understanding self, how you're going to show up in relationship. What kinds of relationships will serve you? What are your values? What is important to you? These are really important foundational questions before you even get into monogamy, non-monogamy, whatever it may be. Is that relationship with self is key, because if you don't know where you end and someone else begins, that's where a lot of trouble comes in. And that's where, boundaries, for example, are a skill set that is applicable to all relationships, yet I only hear get talked about generally when it comes to non-monogamy. I touched on earlier the idea of our society is in this sort of lazy monogamy. And I, again, never hear me saying monogamy bad, non-monogamy good, not what I'm saying. But lazy monogamy, where there's lazy anything,
Mhm.
when you're not actually understanding what you're doing and choosing it, is damaging. And we're seeing that. The numbers don't lie. We're not being served by this assumption, this prescription of relationship. So even if you're in monogamy, for example, and I work with plenty of monogamous couples as well, they don't even discuss what things mean. What is cheating? That's a big one. Big one. What is cheating? One of them thinks cheating is watching porn. The other one thinks nothing's cheating until genital penetrative sex. So they're already not even speaking the same language. There's all these assumptions that go into building a relationship nowadays that I just want people to talk about and
Mm.
really create that shared language, understand their needs, and have that communication so they can create the structure that supports them.
Yeah, that's so big. That's so big. So when you work with people, do you work with individuals or do you work with couples?
I work with individuals, couples, throuple, pretty much any relationship dynamic. Primarily, people generally find me at a relationship transition point. So
Mhm.
often it looks like monogamous couples who are looking to explore some version of opening up, or they've already tried and it's not going well, or they want to change their dynamic, even if they're already in an open dynamic. Maybe they're looking to actually see if polyamory might be a better fit for them, or one of them is monogamous and one of them is polyamorous. And how does that work? That kind of a thing.
What if someone came to you and said, something doesn't feel quite right in our relationship, or we've been together for 10, 15 years, and we've heard about this polyamory thing, this non-monogamy thing, and we're interested? How would you lead someone to start to explore what might be a good next version of their relationship?
It's a pretty indicative of where we're starting at if they're coming to me solo or if they're coming to me together right
Mm.
out the gate. And it's a two very different starting points. So I'll get a question a lot of times if I want to open up our relationship. I don't know how to talk to my partner. What do I do? Which is what I'm hearing, I think is what you're asking, right? Like, how do we even start this
Yeah, well, I love
conversation?
both scenarios. So I would love for you
Okay.
to lead us
Okay.
through both of them. Yeah.
Great, totally. So, what I say to an individual, for example, who comes to me with this, they're not sure how to bring it up. I say, first of all, you're not even there yet. You don't actually want to have, I know you think you want to have the conversation to open up your relationship, but you don't even know what that means yet. So, if you want to actually do this with your partner, which is a different thing than exploring on your own, then what you're actually interested in right now is to understand where they're at. Have they even heard of the term consensual non-monogamy before? Do they have any thoughts or feelings about it? Your main objective now is to understand where they're coming from because you already have an understanding of where you're coming from. You're interested in learning more, hopefully, before you do anything
Mhm.
else. So, right now, gauge where they're at. So, that initial conversation, most people think is about opening up the relationship. That initial conversation is about curiosity, not
Mm.
conviction. It's, hey, I saw this article, that heard about this TV show, read this book. Have you heard this term, consensual non-monogamy? What do you think about it? Da, da, da. Really try to understand where they're coming from. That is the only objective in that first
Yeah.
conversation. And then it's learning is the next phase. Like you don't decide, you know what? I want to swim and then dive in the Pacific Ocean. You get lessons first, hopefully. You find a local pool. Like there are steps involved. So you can do this ideally with as little stress and damage as possible. Like you can absolutely go dive in the Pacific. I mean, go for it. If you want to take the highest risk possible and spend the most energy and stress, like by all means. But it doesn't have to be like that. And so that's what I recommend for people who are wanting to talk to their partner is again, come from curiosity. And because I get the question so much, of course, I created a conversation template for people to help guide them because it is stressful. You're not a robot. There's a lot of feelings and trying to like navigate that. You can lose your words. So I literally created the conversation template with guidance points and things to remember and a literal script if you need that.
Ooh,
So I have
amazing.
that
Did we
on my
get that
site.
from your website?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
available among many other relationship resources
I
on my
love
website.
it.
Task Force will
Wow.
put it there.
Templates are
Yeah,
great when you don't
I
have
love a
the
template.
words. Yeah.
Love a template. Yes, big fan. So, and then when it comes to a couple who's coming to me, it is similar. It's like we still need to start in curiosity. Where are you each coming from? Generally, it's most common one of them is going to be more excited about it than the other. There's
Mm.
generally going to be not always, but there's often a more reluctant partner. And so the
Okay.
key right out the gate is the more reluctant partner sets the pace,
Mm.
non-negotiable. We have to start from there because that's the
Interesting.
guidance points. And that doesn't mean gridlock. We're
Uh-huh.
we're going to be agreeing to get uncomfortable together. But the more reluctant partner needs to set the pace. If you're doing this together, just because you have a partner doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be doing this journey together. There are plenty of people that open up without really taking into consideration the partnered experience. It is
Mm.
a partnered experience. When you're in a couple, you're actually already in a threesome. There's you, your partner, and the relationship. So
Mm.
you're doing this for the relationship when you're doing it partnered, or you're doing it for yourself. So you have to decide which journey you actually want to have.
Wow, that's really powerful. That's really powerful. That makes me think about my own journey. I've been on this journey for a long time and without any vocabulary tools back
Yeah.
in 2004. And so thinking about, gosh, if there were only these kind of tools and this kind of resources and awareness and knowledge and, an ally there to help me 21 years ago, that
An
would have been
ally,
great.
well named.
Yeah, an ally and ally. So I love this. And is it true that you have a course available that people can take?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, like I said, I'm super pragmatic. So, I'm less woo woo and more what now. I want real practical, how can I implement this now? And so, through working with the clients that I have over the last almost 10 years, my own journey since 2016, I've really honed in on the key components. Like, what is the process that gets you from where you are now to something that's stable and sustainable throughout change? And so I've created what I call the Limitless Love Formula. It's a 4-stage process. And I have a course called ENM 101, Open Up Without Breaking Up. And so it's
Mm.
going to take you from the basics. What are all these different relationship dynamics? What are all these words that are so new? What does all this even mean? Into then understanding, okay, these are what the relationship dynamics look like that are available. This is what they entail. What are my needs? What are my needs for exclusivity on my physical sexual plane and my emotional romantic plane? Because those are actually two different needs, right?
Definitely.
How much exclusivity do I need in each of those, really? And then when you understand that, that helps you to determine your IRS, your ideal relationship structure.
Mm.
And if you're doing this partnered, you don't have to. It's designed for couples, but individuals can absolutely do this as well. You're not necessarily going to have the same IRS, and that's okay. You don't both have to need the exact same basic relationship structure. It's about understanding where you're each starting from so you can find that overlap. And that's
Mm.
where your relationship starts from. And then it walks you through building your relationship agreement, which is literally the document that guides this relationship structure that you've now created. It goes through everything, what are our boundaries? What are our safer sex practices? How do we communicate what about to who and when? What are our nesting agreements, co-parenting, et cetera? Everything that I think a lot of us think a marriage contract is, which a marriage contract is, I don't know if you've read one lately, but it has nothing to do with that.
I've never read a
Nothing
marriage
to do with that.
contract.
Yeah, it's about basically like inheritance and property ownership, and
Oh.
that's a whole separate episode we can talk about marriage and how that's changed over the years. It's really the step-by-step process into how to open up without breaking up, how to check this out without risking it all. So get from where you are now, understand what's out there, figure out what your ideal relationship structure is, and build the relationship agreement that supports it. And that's ENM 101, Open Up Without Breaking Up.
Wow, that course sounds amazing. And so, is this a fully digital course that people do at their own time? They can purchase from your website and complete it on their own schedule. Is that how that works?
Yeah, and it's all digital. It's once you have it, you have lifetime access, and I'm updating it. So you'll always have the updated version, new things that get added, bonus materials, things like that. And I broke it up into little bite-sized pieces. So like I love when I get feedback because it lets me know if I need to change anything. And I've gotten consistent feedback that the way that it's just so digestible because it's broken up into these little chunks. You can work on part for your lunch break and then talk about it with your partner when you guys get back home that evening, work on the next part the next day or over the weekend. It's very manageable and bite-sized for that reason.
Well, I love that layout because I think one is that when people are looking at something so foundational and shifting it, that the bite size quality of it gives you like the time to process and integrate in
Mhm.
a more sustainable way. I think if we get so much information on something so core that it's just overwhelming. And so it sounds like that you've designed it in a way to really support people in finishing the course and working through
Yes.
it and building it in a sustainable way that, will add up maybe almost unnoticeably. You think I'm not doing that much, but the way the bite size, it sounds like
Mhm.
it will really help people build and open up in a sustainable way. So that's
Exactly.
really cool.
Not to overuse the gym metaphor, but it's one awesome workout doesn't make you fit. It's the consistency. Just
Yeah.
show up, go for a walk on the treadmill. A little bit every day is so much more impactful in every way than one big effort. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to break it up like this, because your relationship should fit into your life. It shouldn't be this like, oh God, and now I have to do this too. No, this is your daily practice now. I want this
Right.
to become, even when you complete the course, now you have the habit of like just a little bit of your day you're putting towards your relationship.
Yeah. And I love that. And I would just add a little from experience recommendation for anyone who's really going into this that when I'm looking at something super foundational that's I know is challenging me and putting me in a lot of discomfort, I like to look at my obligations and responsibilities and see if there's anything that I could for the period that I'm doing a certain course or really working on something, if there's any obligations I can let go of to create some
Mm.
space. Because I think a lot of times, a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people overcommit and have so many responsibilities. Some of them, absolutely. If someone has kids, that is absolutely a responsibility that is not something that can be put aside while you're doing your own inner work. But I do think that if you can really realistically look at certain things in your schedule and see what you can put a pause on and
Mhm.
focus on this, that it will actually create a stronger foundation to go into maybe some of those obligations or responsibilities that you can take back on in a stronger place instead of really just trying to fit all this stuff in. It takes that much attention and you're worth it to you
Yeah.
out there in the
Well,
world
it's
who's listening to this. You are worth that.
100%. And this, we are not sponsored by whatever that shampoo commercial is or the makeup or whatever. But you are. It's like that adage, it's like work smarter, not harder, like relate
Mhm.
smarter, not like I think I mentioned it earlier, like the idea that I hear a lot, people go, oh yeah, like multiple partners, that sounds like so much work, da 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 da. What my experience has been is because it forces you to work on these relationship skills, I have found it less work and
Mhm.
not less committed or less intimate or less, absolutely not. I have some of the richest, most fulfilling relationships I've ever had in my life right now. And they're less work than a lot of the monogamous relationships that I'd been in. Because again, all those assumptions, right? They create so much more unnecessary work in the miscommunications and the crossed boundaries we didn't know were there and all of that stuff. When you actually put the work into the actual skills, you're ending up saving yourself so much more time in the long run, no
Y-
matter if you have one or four partners.
Yes, absolutely. And I will just again say that if you are feeling like you need support in the beginning aspects, reach out to Ally. I know you have a limited number of coaching spots, so definitely reach out to Ally. And also, there are so many other amazing coaches that I've interviewed over the past several years. Reach out to me and ask me who I would recommend. If Ally is not available, I would first say, go check Ally out. And if she has any
Well,
availability in her calendar,
I think that's what's so beautiful about having so many, because different people need to hear things different ways. Like we can't just have one relationship coach or one non-monogamy. Like sometimes you have to hear the same thing three different ways before you actually hear it. So finding the right coach for you, but also coaching isn't always accessible for everyone
Mhm.
necessarily. That's why I want to have all the resources that I have on my site, because I want you to have access to this information and these practices and everything 24/7. regardless of if you or I are available to work with them. This should always be available.
You also have a really good YouTube channel, so there's free resources there. So there are a lot of free resources that you give to people, and it is available 24/7. So if you're hearing this podcast and you're wanting to learn more about Ally, I'm going to have all of her links in the show notes, the link to the course and her YouTube channel and website, and all the places to find Ally. So before we close down this conversation, and I hope this is the first of many because I've just loved everything we've talked about and I've learned so much. What is the best way for people to connect with you and to get into your world of wisdom?
Well, I'm very accessible. Like you said, I have a very robust YouTube channel. I'm on Substack as well, Instagram. I want this information out there and try to make it as very accessible as possible. But there is all this information. But I think the biggest question people have, what I see is, am I even ready? I'm curious about this, but I'm not even sure what the next step is. Being curious is great. But if you're in a relationship, it's really important to know if your relationship is actually ready to open up. So that has been one of the more common experiences I've had with people coming to me is, what position are you guys even in? So I created the relationship ratio quiz. Your relationship ratio would tell you if your relationship is in a healthy enough, strong enough, stable enough, consistent enough space to be ready to take this on right now. And if it's not, that doesn't mean it's a dead end. It also shows you what are the areas that we need to look at to get us there. So it's a free quiz. You go to my website, passport2pleasure.com. You take the free relationship ratio quiz, and that'll show you if your relationship is ready to open up without breaking up.
What a resource. I'm going to go take that test. I'm just curious what it would look like. But that sounds like a really cool quiz. So again, we're going to have the link to get right to that quiz in the show notes below. And Ally, any other word of wisdom that you want to leave us with?
Oh, so many. I love my words. I said it earlier, but I want to reiterate it because I think it's so important. No matter what relationship dynamic you're in or interested in, learning about all the relationship dynamics that are available will only strengthen whatever relationship you choose to have. So giving yourself these skills and access to these tools will only make you a better partner, will only make your relationship be more fulfilling, more sustainable, and more stable. So I look forward to hearing your feedback.
Yeah. And I think this is another way where I really resonated with you because I say, stay curious. That is how I end all of my podcast episodes. And
Wait, really? That's how I sign all my emails.
I know. That's when I got an email from you. I was thinking, oh wow, we have to have a conversation because I do think curiosity is so important. If you're learning all about different relationship structures and relationship skills and tools from a place of fear, it creates like a shadow and a weight over it. But if you just stay in curiosity without an outcome, there is no outcome. We don't know what the outcome is, but remaining curious is so important in any kind of self growth and evolution, and especially a relationship evolution. And so both Ally and I are going to encourage you to stay curious.
Very much. I love that you said that. That is honestly like one of the two things I leave people with is if you can live your life from a place of curiosity, you are setting yourself up for a very robust, rewarding, and fulfilling life in all areas. It's the antidote to fear, jealousy, all the things. Not to say you need to avoid those things, but it gives you an openness that otherwise is inaccessible. Curiosity is key.
And it didn't kill the cat.
It sure didn't.
I don't even know where that phrase came from. I'm sure there's a background somewhere.
No, I've lived with cats most of my life.
And they're very
delightful.
Curious.
They're very curious and they have a great time. So I don't know where that came from.
No. Well, Ally, thank you so much for having this conversation. You are a gem and I'm really appreciative of the work that you do. Thanks so much for listening to the Relationship Diversity Podcast. Want to learn more about relationship diversity? I've got a free guide I'd love to send you. Go to www.relationshipdiversitypodcast.com to get yours sent right to you. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast. You being here and participating in the conversation about relationship diversity is what helps us create a space of inclusivity and acceptance together. The more comfortable and normal it is to acknowledge the vast and varied relating we all do, the faster we'll shift to a paradigm of conscious, intentional, and diverse relationships. New episodes are released every Thursday. Stay connected with me through my website, carriejaroslow.com, Instagram, or TikTok. Stay curious. Every relationship is as unique as you are. Are you wondering why you never seem to find lasting fulfillment in your relationships? Or do you create the same kinds of relationship experiences over and over again? Can you never seem to find even one person who you want to explore a relationship with? Have you just given up hope altogether? If this sounds like you, my recent book, Why Do They Always Break Up With Me, is the perfect place to start. The foundation of any relationship, whether intimate or not, is the relationship we have with ourselves. In the book, I lead you through 8 clear steps to start or continue your self-exploration journey. You'll learn about the importance of self-acceptance, gratitude, belief shifting, and forgiveness, and given exercises to experience these life-changing concepts. This is the process I use to shift my relationships from continual heartbreak to what they are now, fulfilling, soul-nourishing, compassionate, and loving. It is possible for you. This book can set you on a path to get there. Currently available through Amazon or through the link in the show notes.